Hey, it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. We're responding to a viewer inquiry about how to test if they feel someone is a narcissist. And you can go through a lot of testing, diagnostics, etc. But I think what's very important is for you to really understand how it manifests in your life, really how this person behaves and treats and reacts to you. I think that is the most important thing to understand. Because if that is what you see, that is your real life litmus test. And it is a real judging of whether this person exemplifies a lack of empathy, which is one of the hallmark characteristics of a narcissist or character disordered, personality disordered individual, meaning that they don't have the ability to validate, understand, and relate back to you in a sort of communicative, ease of fashion your feelings, needs, wishes, desires, or really your experience in general. They have a tendency to invalidate, minimize, make less than your experience, your opinion, your input. So if you feel like you can't get a word in edgewise, if you feel like when there's something that is important to you, this is just kind of negated, it is just brushed off, it is not attended to, it is ignored, it is not seen, it is not heard, it is not responded to, it is scoffed at, then this is a good litmus test, if you will, for you to judge if this person is a narcissist. If there is no empathy, it's not just that they don't like you, it's that they don't have the ability to understand and relate to others who aren't just supplying or reflecting back to them certain specific qualities which are all about them. So, for example, if you are the type of person who has something to share, you have a viewpoint, you have there's something that you feel passionately about, or perhaps you have a sensitivity to something that's important to you. Perhaps, you might not like, pesticides in farming, or, you might feel that the tremendous amount of pollution that's going into the atmosphere at the hands of a greedy corporate economy, that this is not right, and that it's abusing of the ecosystem or something of that nature. If you have an opinion or viewpoint which you feel passionately about, or you just try to share your feelings of child raising with this person, and they're just, basically doing this, or they're doing this, and you can't, you feel like they don't want to listen to you, they can't give you the time of day, they don't want to hear where you're coming from, they don't want to hear what your values are, they don't want to participate in that, that is a good sign that you're dealing with a narcissist, someone who does not have empathy. One of the hallmark traits of a narcissist is that they have a deficit of empathy. They don't have the ability. Physiologically, they are their brains, the gray matter shows a thinning of the left anterior insula, which is really part of the brain that helps to kind of trigger more the emotive states which relate to that of empathy. And so they just don't have the wiring. And really, if it's due to lack of use or a lack of attention, or if it's just because of their apathy, and so it's just kind of withered away. This can be the case. Who I think scientists, neuroscientists don't really know that, but there is physiological evidence that the brain scans of those individuals who have character disorder, personality disordered, such as narcissism, their brain scans do show up differently than those of those who have the sensitivity and the ability of empathy. So as you can imagine, if you have this ability to connect with and relate to others, and you have this energy about you that is loving, caring, kind, considerate, and is attentive to things like you're sensitive to people's wrongdoing or their immoral behavior or how they hurt others, and you're sensitive, you're aware, you're conscious of this, and so this about your aura or your personality is then around this narcissist is then going to be triggered to the fact that they don't have that ability. So they're not going to feel as good as, they're going to feel less than, or they're going to feel like they have met someone who is not their match. Because a narcissist, if they lack empathy, they know when they're kind of with someone who has a strong dose or amount or a strong personality of love, attentiveness, nurturing, more of those, sentimental, soft qualities, which the narcissist generally will feel as a weakness. So they interpret empathy as a weakness because they don't have it, and they feel like because they don't have it, this makes them thicker skinned and, more superior, or that their talents, because of, they're not, bothered by everyday humdrum things such as listening to people, that they can just let it go. They just let people off the hook. They don't give any care. They don't give any heed. They don't see the signs. They just, in fact, they're oftentimes part of the problem because they tend to not step in where intervention would be necessary. For example, in alcoholism, where someone is basically drinking themselves to death. A narcissist won't intervene. They'll more enable. Very sad, very, very sad that, help, because, again, it would be the stigma of us needing help. So that would prevent them from going and getting the help that they need because there would be a stigma to it. And then the feeling of that, they can do basically whatever they want. I mean, if you want to eat cookies for breakfast, drink Coke, it's just, these things that are not healthy, but someone with empathy would be attuned to this. Mom, why are you waking up and having Oreo cookies and a glass of Coke to start the day? Maybe you deserve better than that. I want you to be healthy. So these desires of the empathic person for the other to be happy or accountable or responsible oftentimes is, it's part of that empathy that oftentimes triggers the narcissist. And so they realize that they don't have those qualities, so they can't match up vibrationally or in a relationship sort of way to this person, because not that they're necessarily calling them out, but they're kind of like they're able to relate to them in a sensitive manner, which would cause the narcissist to require to change. But the narcissist won't change until they feel they have arrived. They have decided that they want to change. And it's not because of anyone telling to. In fact, oftentimes the narcissist will not change their ways because they don't feel that they have done anything wrong. They feel privileged to do whatever they want. They feel above the law. They feel that it's okay to exploit people emotionally. They make excuses for this. They really just don't care. They lack the empathy. So it is, that is a good test to determine if someone who you're with is, possessing of narcissistic traits. And I feel it's very important not just to go around labeling people. People are people. And, I think it's important to keep positivity in all regards. But if this is what's hurting you, this is becoming abusive, this is causing complete dysfunction and imbalance in the relationship, then that is a good indicator to help you raise your awareness of why maybe the two of you aren't a match, why you're not a vibrational match, why you're not able to get along, or why they're scapegoating you. Because if you have a talent or an ability, a personality characteristic, an ability which they don't have, they're going to feel threatened. They're going to feel jealous. They're going to feel like they can't contend with you. So what better way to contend with you than to annihilate the opposition? So oftentimes the smear campaign, the scapegoating, the insulting, the harsh criticism, the harsh judgment will be because they have a very attack on the authentic self, which would call, it would require them to process certain shortcomings and inadequacies and own up to that. The fact that they're too short-sighted, the fact that they're too callous, the fact that they don't give others time, the fact that they are impatient, the fact that they are physically hostile and aggressive, the fact that their words are harsh and cutting and pointed in their speech. they would have to take ownership of this, but the narcissist, they don't feel that they have done anything wrong. They, take quite joy in feeling better than others, and they feel, in no extenuating circumstances should they have to change. And really, oftentimes for the latter part of their life, they really don't feel they have to change. And they just tend to only, increase that supply source and that status which they feel they are entitled to. Peace and harmony with you here today. I hope these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.